Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be taking a look at the biggest cards in Modern. These are the cards that are the most played based on a percentage basis in the entire Modern format. And obviously, to be on this list, they have to be in registered decks, and I'm going to be using MTG Goldfish to actually find these decks where these cards are being played. It's going to be a fun video, guys. With that being said, let's take a look at the 10th card on today's list, and that is Thoughtseize. Now, this is the Double Masters copy. There is 27% of decks using this card in the Modern metagame, and some of these decks are Rakdos Scam, Yawgmoth, Goryo's Vengeance, and even Mono Black Coffers. This card is being played in so many decks at the moment. It's a very powerful card, and it feels like no matter how many times they print it, there is still going to be use for it in Modern decks, and that's where it's being played the most. Next up here is a fetch land, Misty Rainforest. It is currently being played in 28% of the decks in the Modern metagame, and some of those decks are Yawgmoth, Murktide Regent, 4/5 color Omnath, as well as Living End and even Crashing Footfalls. Fetch lands are always great in Modern, specifically because you can crack them to fetch lands that you need for your mana base, especially if you're using multiple colors, but obviously Shocklands would be one of those cards that you would definitely look for in the Modern metagame. The next card is the One Ring, and there are 29% of Modern decks utilizing this card. Now, it being an artifact means you can literally run in any deck, doesn't matter based on color, and it's mostly used as a sideboard card. It's a great card, and it basically gives you protection from everything until the end of your turn, so obviously a very good card and very powerful in the Modern format. Now, this card is being played in decks like Amulet Titan, Mono Green Tron, Mono Black Coffers, and even 4/5 color Omnath. This card is being played everywhere at the moment. Next up is a Shockland. It's Steam Vents. Now, this is the blue and red Shockland in the Izzet colors. Now, 30% of decks in the Modern metagame are currently using this card, and some of those decks are Domain Zoo, Murktide Regent, Indomitable Creativity, 4/5 color Omnath, and even Temur Prowess decks. This is a great card, and obviously, being in blue and red, anything with blue is usually a color that is very popular in competitive formats, especially Modern being one of the most competitive at the moment. Next up, here's Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer, currently being used in 31% of Modern decks registered on MTG Goldfish. That is a massive amount of decks utilizing this card, and it was one of the cards that was released in Modern Horizons 2, and it really warped the Modern format. In fact, after Modern Horizons 2, it was pretty much something a lot of people agreed on, that whenever there's a Modern Horizons set, it almost kind of rotates Modern, almost as if Modern is standard. That's how powerful this set is, and this is definitely one of the most powerful cards in that set, and it's being played in a ton of decks like Domain Zoo, Rakdos Scam, Murktide Regent, Jund Scam, and even generic Ragavan decks. This card is being played in so many decks currently registered on MTG Goldfish. Next up is another land here. It's Wooded Foothills, and now it's being played in 31% of the decks in the Modern metagame, and some of these decks are Domain Zoo, Indomitable Creativity, Yawgmoth, Temur Prowess, Crashing Footfalls, and even Asmo Food and Jund Saga decks. It's a very good fetch land, and it's got those colors that you really need to utilize, especially for any sort of Jund deck or colors that run Gruul. Next up on the list is Orcish Bowmasters, another Lord of the Rings card. Lord of the Rings is definitely one of the most powerful sets released in the past 2 years, and a lot of cards made their way into Modern, with this one being one of the most played cards in the Modern format, currently with 32% of decks utilizing this card. And some of those decks are Rakdos Scam, Yawgmoth, Mono Black Scam, Mono Black Coffer, Domain Zoo, and even Death Shadow decks. This card is very powerful, and it was even being played in more decks at a certain point when this card was first released in the Modern format from the Lord of the Rings set. A very popular card, and definitely one to keep being on the lookout for, especially if it continues to go up in price. Next up is Flooded Strand. Of course, we're going to have another fetch land on today's list. Fetch lands are definitely some of the most utilized cards in the Modern format. It feels like you can print them every 4 or 5 years, and even if you print the hell out of them, the more people entering the Modern format, the more people building decks, they're still going to need these cards, and obviously being played in 32% of the Modern metagame, that's definitely some data to suggest how utilized this card is. Now, this card is being played in the Modern format in decks like Domain Zoo, Goryo's Vengeance, Murktide Regent, 4/5 color Omnath, and even Crashing Footfalls decks. All of the most popular decks that run any blue or white are likely going to run some Flooded Strands. Next up on the list is another land, not a fetch land though. It is Bosu, who endures This legendary land is being played in 39% of the decks in the modern metagame, and some of those decks are Yawgmoth, Amulet Titan, Mono Green Tron, Indomitable Creativity, and even Living End decks. It's a very powerful land, and it's even being played in other formats as well. However, it sees most of its play in the modern format. And the last card on today's list, drum roll please, is Lightning Bolt. Yes, Lightning Bolt. This common card is still very popular in the modern format. It's just a great one drop at instant speed, dealing 3 damage to target creature or player, a very powerful ability for a card that's a common for the most part. Depends on the sets that it was released, but for the most part this was always printed as a common, so it's not very expensive. In fact, you can find a ton of Lightning Bolts for under $1. It's being played in 43% of the modern decks in the modern metagame, and some of those decks are Domain Zoo, Rakdos Scam, Indomitable Creativity, Murktide Regent, Team of Prowess, and even 4 to 5 color Omnath. This card is being played in any deck that runs red. If you're running red and you don't play Lightning Bolt, what is wrong with you? Seriously, it's one of the most powerful cards ever at instant speed, 3 damage to the face or to the creature for 1 mana, a very powerful card, and I'm happy to see that it's still being played. It's a very iconic card, and it's gonna be a while before this card ever becomes obsolete. In fact, it may never become obsolete. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Maybe the next video I do like this, I'll be talking about cards utilized in another format. Now, if that's the case, let me know down below in the comment section what format you'd like to see. Is it standard? Is it Pioneer? Hell, is it Legacy? Let me know down below in the comment section. With that being said, here are my lovely patrons. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you guys want to support the channel, check out the links in my description. There's tons of ways to do that as well. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Being a patron will help me produce more market movers and add to the funds that I will use for my random buys, and also to my coffee fund, because I drink a lot of coffee for these videos. And here you can see a link below in the description that will give you all the tiers and what you get in each tier. So I hope you guys click and think about joining, and with that, I'll see you next video. Think about supporting the channel in that way. If not, subscribe, like, leave a comment, and I will see you again in the next video.